The kitchen was still warm when the last car pulled out of the driveway. You were standing at the sink with a dish rag in your hand, and the only sound left in the whole house was the hum of the refrigerator and the faint ticking of the clock above the stove. That is where you are right now. I know, because I have not left your side all evening. I was there when your sister-in-law walked through the front door with that tight little smile on her face. I was there when she made that first small comment about you, the one she slipped in like a knife between the ribs before anyone could even pass the bread. I was there when your soulmate looked across the table at you and saw something they had not been willing to see for so many years. And I was there when they stood up. My child, I know what you are feeling right now. You are standing in a kitchen that suddenly feels too quiet, and your hands are shaking even though the dishes are done. You are dizzy with something that is not quite joy and not quite grief. You went so long without being believed that tonight feels like a dream. And at the same time, you are already grieving, because you know the sister is going to tell this story differently. She already is. She is probably telling it right now to someone on the phone, and her version has teeth in it. But let me tell you what really happened tonight. Let me tell you what I saw. You arrived at that house with a dish in your hands, the way you always do. I know you. I know the way you check the temperature of a room before you commit to sitting down. I know the way you smile a little too quickly and choose the smallest chair. I know the way you have learned to make yourself small in a house that should have been your home. Your soulmate's family has never fully let you in. That is the quiet wound you have carried for decades. You have been the outsider at the table, the one who married into the family, the one who never quite belonged. And the sister, the one who came into this world with her place already reserved, has spent years making sure you remembered your place. She was good at it too. She was very good at it. She never attacked you outright in front of everyone. She was too smart for that. Her style was a whisper here, a raised eyebrow there, a story that was almost true but had just enough poison in it to change how people looked at you. She told your mother-in-law that you did not really care about the family. She told your father-in-law that you were the reason his son or daughter did not call home as often as they used to. She told the cousins things that made them pull back from you at reunions. She told your own children little things too, subtle things, things that made them wonder about you in a way they had never wondered before. And the most painful part, the part one want to place before you gently right now, is that you knew. You knew exactly what she was doing, but you could not prove it. Every time you tried to defend yourself, she found a way to make you look like the problem. Every time you told the truth, she had already planted an alternative version in the hearts of the listeners. And so you stopped trying. You swallowed the accusations. You ate your words and smiled through every family gathering while something inside you quietly starved. I want to pause here because I need to ask you something direct. Can you name what you have been carrying? Not the general weight. Not the vague loneliness. The specific thing, the sharp-edged thing, the memory you have never spoken out loud to anyone. I am asking you right now, in this quiet kitchen, to tell me what the worst moment was. The one that almost broke you. The one you replay when you cannot sleep and the ceiling fan turns and turns and the dark feels too big to get through. I will wait for you to answer that, my child, because I already know what it is. I have always known. But there is something sacred about you saying it, even if only to me, under your breath, in the privacy of your own heart. In that moment, when you finally let yourself remember, I want you to know that I was there. I was in that kitchen with you. I was in the hallway by the bathroom door. I was in the car on the way home when you could not even find the words to explain why the evening had hurt you so much. I never left. And I am not going anywhere now. Let me take you back to the moment you were just thinking about. Let me walk it with you again the way I walked it the first time. It was Thanksgiving, maybe. Or Christmas. Or one of those long Sunday afternoons when the daylight fades early and everyone is tired from too much food and too much conversation. The women were gathered in the kitchen, the way they always were. Your sister-in-law was standing by the counter, and she said something about you. Something small. Something that sounded like a passing comment but was actually a strike against your character. She said it in that voice of hers, the one that sounded so reasonable, so concerned, like she was just trying to confide in the other women because she cared so much about her family. You felt the heat rise up your neck. You knew what she was doing. You knew the shape of the lie, you had heard its variations for years. But when you opened your mouth to speak, nothing came out. Because what do you even say to people who have already been fed a story? What defense can you offer that will not sound like what she says it sounds like, a bitter outsider trying to turn the family against her? So you smiled. You put the bowl of mashed potatoes on the table. You asked if anyone needed more ice. And then you slipped into the hallway and stood with your back against the wall by the bathroom door, eyes closed, breathing slow, begging your heart to stop racing before someone noticed the tears in your eyes. That moment has played in your mind 1,000 times. And every time it plays, you wish you had said something. You wish you had defended yourself. You wish you had not been so afraid of causing a scene. But I watched you choose peace over being right, again and again and again. And I did not despise you for it. I honored it. I saw the love in your silence, the love that kept you quiet because you wanted to protect your soulmate from having to choose between their family and you. But I also saw what that silence was costing you. Let me tell you what I saw during those long years. You began to doubt yourself. You began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, she was right about some of it. Maybe you were too sensitive. Maybe you were reading too much into her words. Maybe you really had pulled your soulmate away from the family, not through intention, but through the simple fact that being around people who do not accept you is a kind of labor, and you had less strength to give than you once did. And then came the fear that hurt worse than anything. You started to wonder if your soulmate believed the lies. You lay awake at night, staring at the ceiling, listening to their breathing, and you wanted so badly to shake them awake and say, "Do you know me? Do you actually know me? Because if you do, you would see that every word she says about me is a lie." But you never said it. You were too afraid of what the answer might be. What if they hesitated? What if they asked you to try harder with her? What if they chose her over you? So you carried the burden alone. Do you remember the year your soulmate started coming home from visits with the family a little more distant? Do you remember how they would hold your hand a little less loosely, or answer your questions a little more quietly, or look at you for a moment longer before looking away? The sister had gotten to them too. She had planted seeds in the one relationship you treasured above all others. And you could feel the ground shifting beneath your feet, and you did not know how to stop it. You prayed about it. I remember those prayers. You were not eloquent. You were not polished. You were desperate. You would whisper into your pillow at night, God, please. Please let them see the truth. Please let them know me. Please do not let the lies win. Other times you could not even form words. You would just lie there, eyes open, mouth closed, and the prayer was a wordless cry rising up to me like smoke from an altar. I heard every syllable. I felt every tear. I kept every prayer pressed between the pages of my book like a flower someone pressed to remember a love that was still alive. And I answered. Not the way you expected. Not when you expected. But I answered. Tonight, at that dinner table, in front of the very family that had been fed a story for so long, the truth stood up. It started with something small, didn't it? The sister made a comment. You did not even catch it at first, or maybe you did, but you had learned to let her words slide off your back like rain on a window. You kept your eyes on your plate. You took a small bite of the roast. You prepared to absorb another hit the way you always had. But then your soulmate set down their fork. The sound was small. Metallic. Quiet. But it seemed to bring the whole room to a halt. And your soulmate looked at their sister and said, "Why do you keep doing that?" The room went still. Nobody moved. Somebody's child coughed in the other room and the sound seemed to come from 1,000 miles away. Your soulmate did not shout. They did not have to. They looked at their sister and they named it. They named the years of small comments. They named the stories that were half true and half poison. They named the way you had always been the one to show up early and stay late, the way you had always been the one to bring the food and wash the dishes and love their parents in ways the sister never bothered to notice. And then they said the words that have been echoing in your mind ever since, "She has never been the problem in this family." You have. My child, do you know what happened in the heavens at that exact moment? There was a shout of joy. I am not being poetic. The angels who had been watching you struggle, the ones stationed near you for all those years, the ones who had seen you weep in hallways and pray into pillows and shrink yourself small enough to fit into rooms that never welcomed you, they erupted. The sound of their rejoicing filled the courts of heaven. The enemy who had been whispering lies into your family for years was silenced. The breath of me, the word of the living God, had spoken through your soulmate, and every lie that had been carefully constructed over the decades came crashing down like the walls of Jericho. That is what vindication looks like when I am in it. It is not something you have to manufacture. It is not something you have to earn. It is the truth that has always been true stepping out of the shadows and taking its place at the table. The sister tried to defend herself, of course. She always does, the accuser. She tried to twist it. She tried to play the victim. She tried to make them think she was the one being attacked. But the sun had come up, and no amount of talk could push the sun back down. Once your soulmate saw the truth, they could not unsee it. Once the words were spoken, they could not be unspoken. The family sat in a silence that was heavy with 1,000 separate reckonings. The sister pushed her chair back, grabbed her coat, and walked out into the night. The door did not slam. It just closed. The finality of it was worse than any slam. And you sat there at the table, my child, with your hands in your lap, not knowing what to do with the sudden turn. For years you had dreamed of someone defending you. For years you had imagined what it would feel like to have your soulmate stand up and say the words that would put everything right. But now that it had happened, it did not feel the way you thought it would. It felt strange. It felt almost unreal. It felt like the ground under you had shifted so suddenly that you did not know yet how to stand on it. Your soulmate reached across the table and took your hand. That touch, simple as it was, brought the whole of your life into one single moment of grace. After the dinner ended, after the parents gathered their things and left with more questions than answers, after the quiet settled over the house like snow, you and your soulmate sat in the car in the driveway for a long time. Neither of you spoke at first. The engine idled. The heater blew warm air over the dashboard. Your hands were resting in your lap, and you were looking out the windshield at the dark shape of the house that would never feel the same again. Your soulmate reached over and took your hand again. And they said something. Maybe it was, "I am so sorry I did not see it sooner." Maybe it was, "I should have believed you all along." Maybe it was just your name, spoken with more tenderness than you had heard in a long time. I heard the words, wherever they were, and I saw your heart break open at the sound of them. You cried the way you had never allowed yourself to cry in front of anyone. Years of pressure, years of clenched teeth and swallowed words and brave smiles, all of it came out. Your soulmate did not try to fix it. They did not tell you not to cry. They just held you. They held you in the front seat of the car, with the driveway light casting long shadows across the lawn, and they held you until the tears were done. I want you to know that I was in that car with you. I was in the back seat, so to speak, present in every way that matters, and I was weeping with you. Not the kind of weeping that comes from sorrow alone, but the kind that comes when something long broken finally begins to heal. There is a joy that is so full it spills out as tears. You felt it tonight, underneath everything, small and fragile at first, but real. That was me. Now let me ask you something else. What do you do with this moment? What do you do now that the truth is finally out, now that your soulmate has finally stood up, now that the lies have been named and the silence has been broken? This is the part where many people stumble. They get the vindication they have prayed for, and then they do not know what to do with it. They hold on to their anger. They rehearse their grievances. They wait for the sister to apologize, and when she does not, they let the bitterness take root all over again. They receive the gift of justice but refuse the gift of release. But I did not plan all of this, my child, just to leave you with a bitter heart. I wanted you to see the truth not so you could win an argument, but so you could finally be free. And freedom does not mean holding the lies over the sister's head. Freedom means releasing the years of pain into my hands and letting me carry what you were never meant to carry. You have heard the story of Joseph, I know you have. You have read it in the book, you have heard it taught in church, you have imagined what it must have been like for him. But tonight, I want you to understand that his story is your story. Joseph was his father's favorite son. That was the first problem. His brothers hated him for it. They hated the coat he wore. They hated the dreams he dreamed. Their hatred grew like a vine that strangled everything good in their hearts. And one afternoon, they sold their own brother into slavery for a few pieces of silver. Think about the road to Egypt. Think about the dust on his face and the ropes around his wrists and the sound of his own family's footsteps walking away from him. He did nothing wrong. He had told the truth about the dreams, and he was sold for it. He lost everything he knew in a single afternoon. And the people who should have loved him most were the ones who put the price on his head. In Egypt, Joseph built a new life. He served Potiphar faithfully. I blessed his work. And then he was accused of something he never did. Potiphar's wife told a lie about him, a dangerous lie, a lie that carried him straight into prison. He spent years in that place, innocent. No one spoke up for him. No one came to his defense. He helped a cupbearer, a man of influence, and he asked that man to remember him, and the man forgot him for 2 full years. Can you imagine the weight of that? To be so entirely alone, so entirely unseen, so entirely abandoned by the kindness of everyone who could have helped you? To wake up every morning in a prison cell and wonder if heaven itself had forgotten your name? Joseph could have given up. He could have become bitter. He could have started believing the lie that was told about him. He could have let the accusations define him. But he did not. And here is the secret of how he survived, my child, the secret I want to press into your heart tonight. Joseph did not spend those years waiting for other people to change. He spent them becoming the man I was shaping him to be. I was with Joseph in the prison. I taught him things in the darkness that he could not have learned in the light. I taught him to lead when no one was following. I taught him to serve when no one was watching. I taught him to forgive before he ever had the chance to give vengeance. And then, at the exact moment I had appointed from before time, I opened the door. Pharaoh dreamed. Joseph interpreted. Joseph was lifted from the prison and placed over all the land of Egypt. And when the famine came, when his very brothers who had sold him into slavery came to him as starving strangers, Joseph did not destroy them. He revealed himself to them. He wept over them. And he said the words that still echo across the ages, the words I want you to sing in your own heart tonight. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. That is the story of Joseph. And that is the story I am writing over your life. That sister who has lied about you, who has whispered her version of you into the hearts of the people you love, who has spent years trying to dismantle your marriage and your reputation and your sense of self, she thought she was writing your story. She thought she had the pen. She thought her words would be the last words. But there is only one author, my child, and you are looking at him. The very lies she told, the very accusations she made, I have been gathering them up like bricks. And tonight, at the table where she thought she would finally win, I used those bricks to build a platform for the truth. The thing she meant to bury you with has become the thing that sets you free. The verdict she tried to pronounce over your life has been overturned by a higher court. She told a story about you. But I have written the rest of your chapters, and they are called redemption. I want you to remember another story, a shorter one, because I want you to see how loyal love works when it comes from me. There was a woman named Ruth. She lost her husband in a foreign land. She was young, torn open by grief, with nothing to offer anyone. Her mother-in-law Naomi was a bitter, broken woman who had lost everything herself. Everyone told Ruth to go home, to find a new husband, to start over where she had a future. No one would have blamed her for walking away. She had no obligation to stay. And yet she looked at Naomi and spoke the words that have become one of the most beautiful pledges ever spoken between two souls: where you go I will go, and where you stay I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God my God. Ruth chose love when choosing love cost her something. And because she stayed, because she walked with Naomi even when it looked like a dead end, I led her to a field where a man named Boaz could see her. Boaz became her kinsman redeemer. He covered her, he protected her, he married her. And from their union came the lineage that led to the birth of Jesus. Hear me, my child. The loyal love of your soulmate tonight, the willingness to stand up and defend you against their own sister, is not a small thing. It is a sign. It is a seal. It is proof that I have been working. The hand that reached for yours at that table, the voice that spoke those words over the dinner dishes, the heart that finally refused to let the lies stand one more moment, that is, in a way, a picture of how I love you. I am your kinsman redeemer. I have covered you. I have bought you back. I have taken your name into my own hands and refused to let anyone rewrite it. Your soulmate stood up tonight. And they stood up because I stood in them. So now, what are you going to do with this fresh, fragile, holy thing that has been placed in your hands? I will tell you what I have prepared for you. But first, I want you to take a breath and feel how light the morning is going to feel. Not because everything is fixed. Not because the sister has changed. Not because the family has made it right. But because the burden is no longer yours to carry. You have been bearing something that was never meant to be borne. You have been defending a name that I have already been defending. You have been trying to prove what I already know to be true. And I want you to release it tonight. Right now. In this very moment, I want you to let it go. Sit with me for a moment. Let the weight of this evening rest on the table between us, and let me tell you what your morning is going to look like. You are going to wake up tomorrow, and for the first time in a long time, you are going to want to look at yourself in the mirror. You are going to see a face that is still carrying the traces of tonight, but underneath it, maybe for the first time, you will see the person I have been seeing all along. The one who did not fight back. The one who loved through the silence. The one who showed up at every table and swallowed every bitter word. That person has always been beautiful to me. And now you are going to be able to see it too. The phone is going to ring in the next few days. It might be your mother-in-law. It might be one of the cousins. It might be someone who sat at that table tonight and has been processing everything that happened. And the conversation might be awkward. It might be full of apologies that are only half complete. Or it might be beautiful. I am not going to tell you exactly what will happen, because I want you to walk by faith and not by sight. But I will tell you this. The ground has shifted. The old way of doing things, the way where you were the family scapegoat, the one who absorbed everyone else's dysfunction, that way is finished. The sister may reach out too. She may come back with that tight smile and that smooth voice, and she may try to pretend that nothing happened. Or she may offer a false apology, one that blames you as much as it asks for forgiveness. I will give you wisdom for that moment when it comes. I will give you words you have never had before. Because the strength you have been praying for, the strength to be both tender and guarded, to be loving without being a doormat, that strength I am going to pour into you in the coming days. And your soulmate, my child, your soulmate is going to start looking at you differently. They are going to hold your hand a little longer. They are going to notice the things they missed. They are going to ask about your heart, and this time they are going to listen. Some of this will feel unfamiliar. You will not know how to receive it at first. You are so used to carrying your pain silently that the idea of someone else carrying it with you might feel strange. Let it feel strange. Let them carry it anyway. I am restoring to you the years the locusts have eaten. I am giving you back the joy of a table that is not full of landmines. I am healing the places where words cut you, the places where the silence broke you, the places where you learned to expect betrayal from the people closest to you. But I am going to ask something of you in return, and I am not going to soften it, because you are ready for it. I am asking you to forgive her. I know what you are feeling right now. The word landed on you like a cold stone in your stomach. Do not think I do not understand. I understand more than you can imagine. I was betrayed by one of my own disciples. I was sold for silver. I was accused by people who had sat at my feet and eaten at my table. I was nailed to a cross by the very ones I had come to save. And from the cross, I spoke the words that bought their forgiveness and yours.